Yo, what's good fam? Back with your boy Pizza Jim, aka Propaganda, and we're talking about more games. The year of the Weeb is in full effect fam. Onimusha, Way of the Sword, was just announced. Well, it was announced a while ago actually, probably like a month ago now. But this is another massive blast from the past fam. Well, Onimusha Warlords, that was the first one. That came out in 2001. So I was like 9 when I first played this game fam. I remember my mate Brandon, his dad brought it home and we were jamming it on PS2. Like, I was pretty sick. You see those orbs? That was the classic health collectible back in the day. As soon as I seen them, I got hyped. I knew we were getting a new Onimusha fam. So shout out Capcom. So if memory serves me correctly fam, this game started out as a development for a new Resident Evil game that Capcom were working on, and then it evolved into its own sort of thing. It started out as like a feudal Japan Resident Evil, but with melee weapons, and then I think it was too much of a departure from the regular game, so they changed it and made it into its own IP. So it played like a classic Resident Evil where you'd hold R1 to raise your weapon, and then you'd use the face buttons like square and stuff to execute different attacks. And so the weapons were based on elements. So there was a lightning element, or like a fire element, and wind. I think there might have been a water, I can't 100% remember. But each element had a different weapon. So the lightning weapon was a katana, and then the fire weapon was a large, like, double-bladed broadsword. The wind one was like a twin blade, like glaive kind of thing. And so each weapon also had different orbs that were associated with it, and as you'd attack your enemies, they would drop the orbs, and as you absorb the orbs, you would be able to get access to higher levels of attacks. And so like the orbs were color coded for each element, and then you'd swap between weapons depending on which orbs were available, and you'd sort of absorb them as you're doing your combos, and you'd get extra attacks and shit, and unleash like elemental specials and stuff. So it had this weird combination of being like fast paced but also methodical, and a little bit more deliberate, like a Souls game rather than sort of like a Team Ninja game like Neo where the combos are a lot more faster. The pacing of the attacks in Onimusha was still quite quick though. It was close to like Devil May Cry, which also began its development as a Resident Evil and then shifted into its own IP.
Anyway, if you didn't play the original Onimusha fam, it was a really interesting game and a bit of a departure from typical sort of action RPG games. So I'm really interested to see what they do with the combat. Now it looks like they've focused on a more parry-centric sort of gameplay style, and it seems like it has a bit more of a focus on interactable environments. So I'm very interested to see what new things they incorporate. It looked like Musashi has the tatami mat move that Baiken has in Guilty Gear. So very excited for the combat and keen to get back out there and slay some Genma. And so I think this is the first AAA game where we get to play as Miyamoto Musashi as well. So in the previous titles, I believe they all had different protagonists. I think the first one was Genosuke, and then the second one was Jubei. The third game was funny. It had some time shenanigans, and I can't remember the Japanese protagonist, but Jean Reno was in it, fam. Leon the Professional. It was pretty funny. So he was a guest star. He was like the other main character in the third game. And I think even on his first mission, he started with a gun until you get transported like into feudal Japan, and then he finds like a whip sword, which kind of sucked. But yeah, it seems this year we get to play as the legendary author of the Book of Five Rings, Miyamoto Musashi. So that's going to be interesting. So yeah, I wonder if Sasaki Kojiro is going to make an appearance. That'll be great if he's the final boss. But yeah, like in 2023, Netflix teamed up with Capcom and they made a Onimusha anime, in which the main character was also Musashi. And when I was watching it, I was kind of confused as to why Musashi was the main character. Well, he was the hero, and seems like it was a bit of a character test for the game, or it could have even been a bit of a loose prequel to the game, which actually, come to think of it now, ends in the duel with Sasaki Kojiro, so maybe he won't be in the game. Big sad. But yeah, for a massive Weeb head and Miyamoto Musashi stan, like myself, I'm quite excited to play. And I'm quite excited to see how they extend or adapt some of the lore about Musashi, and just how well they capture the character. So this isn't going to be a history lesson or anything, but a few things that I'd like to see them capture about Musashi is, which they seem to already have in the series and by the looks of the trailer, is like his sense of humor. Bro, he sounded like a real sarcastic dude, and like he was pretty much a dad, and just a real dickhead pretty much. He was unkempt, unshaved, and he didn't like form to social norms. Yeah, it's quite often said that he didn't bathe and stuff like that, and that he'd turn up to formal gatherings in like a real chill, casual kimono. Anyway, if you don't know about Musashi and you want to become another weeb like me, fam, read the Book of Five Rings. It's one of those books that have been translated a few times and adapted into sort of modern culture, and a lot of them are written from like a business standpoint, and they can actually teach you a lot about strategy and things like that from Musashi's point of view, which is quite an interesting one because he always took the stand as sort of like a regular guy that he kind of would do anything that he needed to get the job done. Like his most famous duel, fam, or in my opinion, and my favorite duel from the Legend of Musashi, was his duel against Kojiro. So Kojiro was a really well-established sword fighter, but essentially Musashi had talked so much shit over his career, just on Twitter, always tagging Kojiro in the dumbest shit. Like he'd rate Kojiro's mixtape as a light 1, would constantly be walking through his hood and tagging him on Instagram Live. Where you at? Where you at? I thought y'all were outside. Anyway, that all got back to Kojiro, and he wasn't having it. Had followers in his live stream chat just saying like, yo, you ain't gonna spin. You ain't gonna spin. Kojiro is the type to spin, fam. He went and spun the block. He told everyone he was like gonna go have a scrap with Musashi, and then Musashi just straight dropped the location and a time, fam. And he said, pull up. This man right here is a menace, fam. He is a menace. Kojiro was tilted as at this point, sick of getting ratioed. So he jumped in a canoe and he paddled out to the spot where Musashi said he was. He pulled up, fam. Musashi wasn't there. But Kojiro came for the smoke, fam. He came strapped up. He had his big ass Odachi, which is the katana with the extendo. If you didn't know that, fam, it's got the extendo on it. He then waits for Musashi to turn up, and Musashi takes his sweet ass time and he paddles over in his canoe. And it takes so long that Kojiro just starts tweaking, fam. He can see Musashi rolling up in the canoe, paddling over. And then Musashi stands up in his canoe and he's like, sup fam, I didn't even come strapped. He doesn't even come with a sword, fam. Instead, he carved an oar into the shape of a bokken, and he told Kojiro that that was all he's gonna need, was this boat oar to take him out. Kojiro wasn't having it, fam. He was just wanting to throw hands. So he rushed at Musashi, but in the haze of his anger, fam, Kojiro miscalculated, and Musashi struck him with the Suburi bokken that he had just carved out of a boat oar. The first blow knocked Kojiro down, and then due to the size of the boat oar, the second blow was the final blow that killed him. But yeah, the story surrounding this duel and the events that led up to it, it was pretty much like a historical account of what happens on Instagram these days, fam. But yeah, the Netflix series really captures their rivalry and retells it in such an amazing way. I actually really recommend it, fam. It's not an exact retelling, it is a reimagination, but it's so beautiful. Anyway, that's Onimusha for you. So we're looking forward to that game, fam. It looks really good. We're gonna hopefully pick it up this year when it drops. Wait, when does it drop? I think it's next year actually. But yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. If you played Onimusha, fam, drop us a comment, let us know. Are you gonna pick up this game? Are you excited for it? Did you play any of the originals? And finally, did you read the Book of Five Rings? Alright, fam. So subscribe for more videos, new videos every time I upload, and yeah, peace.